Welcome to week two, Hood's Huddle week two at Jared D. Hood on Twitter.
At Joe Physic on Twitter. Catch us there.
Yes, we are excited. We're excited to catch Hood's Huddle on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that. We're going to jump right into it. What an interesting week two it was. New York Jets going to New England to play the Patriots. Tom Brady had a weird first quarter. Then his receivers started dropping balls, and the rain came. Teddy Bruschi got honored at halftime, which was pretty cool. Good for him. Geno Smith, bad fourth quarter, even worse final drive there, throwing the bad interception and all that. But, I mean, what do you take away from this more? Was it the Patriots offense struggling? Was it the Geno Smith not being ready for the moment? Was it, the Jets being the Jets?
The Jets defense came up pretty big, I thought. For the most part, they played relatively well throughout the game. I think the Patriots should have scored more points than they did, but, they're still with all those young people, all those young weapons. They still got a lot to work on. The most important thing is that the Patriots won the game for the Patriots. I thought Geno Smith had an outstanding day. I mean, he threw for 214 yards, didn't have any touchdowns, but that's still a pretty good day, especially against a tough Patriots defense.
2 games over 200 yards for Geno Smith, and he only has had 2 starts. I mean, that's pretty good. You can't really knock it. Wasn't a lot of those yards in the second half or in the fourth quarter when he really needed them, but he had it, like you said, he had a good day overall. He threw some really bad passes, but he's a rookie. He's threw some really good passes too. My takeaway from this was the Patriots receivers were just dropping a few balls left and right. That defense played really well. I said it all off season for the Jets. As much as a circus as they were, Rex Ryan can still coach defense. And even though the Patriots didn't have the best wide receivers going for them, it's still Tom Brady. It's still Bill Belichick. It's still that Patriots offense that can still put up points on you no matter who's playing. And Edelman had a big game. And I'm not saying that the Patriots offense, it's not the Patriots offense that's going to put up, 30 points on you. But you expect what, 20, 25 points at least, even from with nobody a wide receiver. I think it proves that Rex Ryan can still coach defense pretty well, even if he can't coach the whole team. If he gets that game manager in there, who knows? I mean, look at what Mark Sanchez did his first 2 years in the league. I think Geno Smith can develop into one of these newer quarterbacks. If they get an offensive coordinator in there that can run this read option or, West Coast style or whatever, and get another good offense in there on top of the defense that Rex is coaching, maybe he can save something in with the Jets right now. But overall, I agree with you. I think Geno looked good. It was an entertaining game for Thursday night. It was cool. It was fun to see. The rain was neat. I don't I'm a big Brady fan, so it was interesting to see Brady struggling. I'll say that. It was very interesting to see him struggling. I think when he gets a full Amendola, and when he gets a Gronk, and their other tight end didn't play either, we'll all slow our roll. We'll take deep breaths, and we'll see how it works from there. But just like week 1 in Buffalo, week 8, if they have 2 wins on their schedule, it might only be these 2 wins, but hey, 2 wins is 2 wins. I mean, 8 weeks from now, we're not even we don't even care how they won or who they beat.
Exactly. All that matters is that win and loss column.
Exactly.
So, Next we got the Falcons squeezing out one against the Rams. I've been saying the Rams are one of my sleeper teams.
Yes.
The score, I think, doesn't really tell the whole story. I think the Falcons kind of handled the game for the most part. But they did just come up by a little bit. The Rams did try to make a comeback. I thought they played well.
I'm a big Sam Bradford fan. I'm a big Tavon Austin fan. Both came up late, both third, fourth quarter, second half, made it a game. I like how the Rams defense plays. I like how they didn't, it was a blowout-ish at one point, so I understand it might be a little inflated, but their defense came up pretty big, I thought, in the second half in last few late drives. I'm a big Jeff Fisher fan. I think there's a lot going for them in St. Louis, so I'm with you. I like them as a sleeper team, like you said. And, I thought they showed, at least they didn't give up. Most teams,
right.
At least the bad teams you see in a game like this, they usually lay down in maybe a 24-7 game. They tried to make it a game. Tavon Austin and Bradford could be a tandem for years to come.
Yeah. The biggest story is probably Steven Jackson playing against his old team. He scored a touchdown.
Got hurt.
Doesn't play the rest of the game.
Got hurt. Hey, he plays one play. He was trying to fight that defense player for St. Louis, which was a little weird. I didn't understand what that was about. He was upset with something. I really didn't understand it, but he gets hurt on the first play of the game. That's kind of a big deal. I think that's a big deal for Atlanta's offense.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, he's a pretty key piece that they were adding on for this season. They were expecting a lot of big.
They've done it without a great run game in the past. Obviously, that's what was missing for their Super Bowl run, so it's a big deal if he's out for very long term. But I think they can get by 5-6 weeks in the regular season, especially this early without him. To you, San Diego going to Philadelphia cross country and winning 33-30 over the new Chip Kelly offense that didn't score 160 points, but they did put up a lot of yards. They did put up a lot of points. It was, in my eyes, 100% the defense's fault. But, I mean, what do you take away from, were you surprised? Was this a shocker to you?
I wasn't. I was kind of surprised. I thought the Eagles would pull out the win. I can't say I didn't kind of see this coming. I mean, this is the defense that I was expecting to see week 1 from the Eagles, and I didn't. So it was kind of, that's what I was, expecting to see. The first time around. So I thought, they had a really rough go. I thought the Chargers offense kind of did put it together a little bit. I mean, you can't let Eddie Royal run all over you like he did. I mean, especially like when Malcolm Floyd was in there, I'll give the defense a little bit of credit. He's a pretty good wide receiver. But when he was out of the game, how do you not stop what's left of the Chargers wide receiving core? I thought it was a good win for the Chargers, though. They kept going. They fought the new Chip Kelly offense, I think Chip Kelly had some bad clock management down the stretch there that I think, you don't give them the ball back, This isn't college anymore. You don't take that risk. I mean, you have 3 minutes left. If you give the other team the ball with 2 minutes or more, you're not going to get it back. Like, the other team's going to win.
In my eyes, in college, 8 out of 10 times you're probably getting that ball back because, especially in the Pac-12, they play fast football. And I really think that, like, maybe Stanford doesn't give you that ball back, maybe, or, in Alabama, and I know Stanford's in Pac-12, that's why I said them, but in Alabama doesn't give you that ball back. But most of the time in college, with 3 minutes left, if you go down and score, you're expecting the ball back with maybe a minute, maybe a little over a minute, maybe, 50 seconds, but I said to you earlier, I think Chip Kelly believes that if he has the ball with 25 seconds left and it's within reach, he can win the game. I mean, I really think he believes that because on any play at any time, he thinks he can explode or he can run the right plays until you get that point. So I understand. I'm giving him in one pass. I say if it happens next week or if it even happens ever again, he should have learned from the Chargers game. He should have learned. That's just one pass in my eyes. But that defense has been horrible since halftime of the Redskins game. And they came out and they haven't stopped anything since kickoff of the second half in Washington on Monday night. They haven't. I think they forced one punt, maybe 2 punts all game against the Chargers. I mean, the Chargers are not talented. They're not good. The Eagles offense put up good numbers. They had to punt the ball a few times, I'm an Eagles fan, so I'm like, whoa, what are you guys doing? But no, I'm joking. But like, they looked a little not rusty because they never run it before. They looked a little out of sync trying to figure it out. But when they are running it, when it is that well-oiled machine, especially let's say week 6, week 7, we might be talking about a whole different, offense. But for now, I like what they did. I like what their offense did. The defense needs. I mean, he scored 30 points, and I know they're going to have games where they probably lose 42-40 this year. But you score 30 points, you expect to win.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, and that missed field goal. Henry missed a field goal earlier in the game that could have kept it tied at that point. That turned out to be a pretty big one. That's usually one that he can make. So that was kind of a little shocking. He totally whipped. So.
My only thought is, like, Trent Cole moved positions. You have a whole brand new defense pretty much. I'm not saying that they figure it out this year because usually it takes years to learn, not even years to learn, but at least a season under your belt is pretty good. And maybe they'll be able to eventually catch up with that offense one day, years down the road. But right now, this year, do you think by, like, middle of the season you see improvement from the Eagles defense, or is the Eagles defense giving up this many points week in and week out because of that offense?
I think they could potentially be giving up that many points because the offense is just so fast. I mean, that's kind of something that they'd have to get used to. In practice, you got to keep running, you got to keep doing, But I mean, if the offense can do it, you need to be able to do it, back with them. You got to be able to compete. So I don't think the offense is helping. I don't think the offense is helping the defense's progression, which I think is going to make it harder for this year learning. But I think down the road they eventually get that. Listen, Oregon was getting those big defensive players, the big linebackers, this and that can make 1 or 2 stops a game, and that's what was working in college. They need to figure something out like similar to what they were running in Oregon, obviously, because it worked. So we'll see. the Chiefs coming through beating the Cowboys. We both did call
We called
that.
it.
Not to showboat or anything, but we said it. Andy Reid was going to come in there.
Listen, we both have watched enough Eagles football in the last 14 years to understand Andy Reid. He knows the Cowboys. He knows the Cowboys system. He played them enough. Like I said, I think even if it was just week 2, him digging down, saying, "Hey, I can find that hatred one more time. It's only week 2, and with my brand new team, I can still hate the Cowboys." Whatever he did to figure it out, he did enough. Des Bryant dropping that ball late, man, that's big because he had a great game, great first half for the most part. I was ready to agree with Michael Irvin calling him the MVP, but I don't even think he's an elite wide receiver after you drop a ball like that. It's a big deal. It's a big spot. Romo, he was Romo. Didn't play bad at all. Well, good enough to win. Defense played pretty well. Alex Smith doesn't have any turnovers at all, which is really big considering guys like Eli have 7 interceptions. That's a big deal. I think that's the biggest reason why they're 2-0 and why they were able to beat the Cowboys.
Does he still have a streak going for no turnovers?
I'm not sure.
Before he got hurt? Because that would be kind of wild.
I don't know. You know what?
Limited in
We'll have to find that. We'll have to find that out. We'll let people know on Hood's Huddle next week. But yeah, you're right. I mean, that was because I remember that was a long streak. He holds the ball. I mean, he makes sure he doesn't turn the ball over. That's what's impressive about this is when you had McNabb in Andy Reid's offense. McNabb went through spurts where he was throwing some bad interceptions. Vic was never great at reading defenses, so he was throwing some interceptions there late, and they weren't 100%. I don't think anybody was fully in 100% on the Eagles' last 2 years on their offense or defense, but I think early in that system when he was throwing those interceptions, when, like the year that they really beat the Redskins and all that, when they were playing well, he was still throwing interceptions. I think if you find a quarterback to run Andy Reid's style West Coast offense that won't give the ball over, and you got a running back like Jamal Charles, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how they can flourish. I think this could be the best version you've seen of it since he's been in the NFL. And that's a bold statement because he's had some really good offenses. Miami going into Indy and beating the Colts. Now, I was high on Miami before the year. I've told you for a while I'm a Tannehill fan. He didn't start that many games in college. He started double the amount of games in the NFL that he did his whole entire life. That's college, high school, pee-wee, which is pretty big. I mean, he was only a rookie last year, so he doesn't have all that much experience at quarterback, and he played really well last year. He played really well his whole time playing quarterback. That's why I've been so high on them, because I think his learning rate has had to be a lot faster than everybody else. I think he's standing right there. He's not as good as Luck. He's not as good as Kaepernick. He's not as good as Wilson. But they've been running quarterbacks since they were in Pee Wee or at least junior high. Where you got a guy here who's only been running for 2.5, 3 seasons maximum. He was an emergency quarterback in college. I mean, so for him to be playing as well as he has, I think that says a lot. That's why I'm so high on Miami. I think they got a good offense. I think they got a pretty good defense. Indianapolis couldn't block anybody, and they were the biggest part in my eyes. They were the biggest part of the loss. What did you see? What was bigger, Mike Wallace getting back in it and Miami winning, or Indy losing? Because, well, I mean, everybody's an Indy fan right now. Everybody thinks they're going to do good.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of surprised that Indy lost. I thought they could have won. I mean, their offensive line did give up. They didn't help them out enough to really help them win the game, to be honest. I think they still could have won. I do like Tannehill. I think he's been playing well. I think the key was that they got Mike Wallace involved early, made him nice and happy. He scored that touchdown and that bubble screen that he had.
That was cool.
I mean, he looked pretty good. I mean, I can't say I'm shocked that the Dolphins won, but I did expect a little.
Yeah, I think we're both on the same on the same page right there. It sets up very interesting things for both teams in the future. There's a lot now that they got to learn, and we really got to learn about both teams and figure out. The next game was the Tennessee Titans going to Houston to play the Texans, and the Texans coming away 30-24 in overtime, 3 missed field goals. Titans going to their old stomping grounds because they used to be the Oilers. Titans have played 2 good football games as a whole. I mean, there's a lot going on with this game. Where do you start?
I like the Titans coming up. They're playing really tough football these first 2 weeks. There's a team that you didn't expect a lot from this season. You didn't think they were going to be that good. And they're coming out and showing some heart and some fight. So it's kind of nice to see. I do like them with the way they're playing. I think the Texans should have had a little more dominance in this game. I mean, so far they haven't shown us as much in the season as we have expected. But at the end of the day, again, they still do have those 2 wins. So you can't knock on it too much because, they are still winning in comparison, But I do like the Titans and what they're doing so far this season.
I can't say anything because I said New England 2-0 is 2-0. Week 8, two wins are 2 wins. Doesn't matter how you got them. But I do think that there is something to say about a bad Chargers team that, yes, went across country and beat Philadelphia, and then a Titans team that nobody was high on in the beginning of the year. They played 2 really tight games, and they've won in weird ways, and the 3 missed field goals, you can't have that, obviously, in being a elite team. But
they don't get a new kicker.
That's something you can fix. That's something you can fix. It's only week 2. I'm not saying that's something that's what's going to hold them back from winning the Super Bowl, but are they one of the legit teams? Are they one of those elite teams that you think, hey, man, that's a really good football team out there? That's a really good 2-0 football team out there? Or are you saying, yeah, they slipped by the Chargers, not good. They slipped by the Titans, who are playing better than we thought. Same with the Chargers, but still not good.
I mean, you can say the same thing for the Patriots, though. I mean, yeah, I agree they did slip by those 2 teams, but the Patriots have slipped by their first 2 as well.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
If you're going to give the Patriots the pass, they got to get the pass too. But I mean, I did expect more from both teams.
Okay. That's a good enough answer in my eyes. All right, Washington going to Green Bay. Now, man, is this the defense's fault or is it the offense's fault?
I mean, the offense didn't play well, but neither did the defense. I mean, the defense can't. You can't let them 38 points and think you're going to win. But the offense looked real shaky too. I mean,
Aaron Rodgers threw like 1 billion touchdowns in the first half. I played Peyton Manning week 1 of one of my leagues, and I played Aaron Rodgers week 2 in that league. So, needless to say, I'm 0-2. I mean, that was. I felt like he scored like 120 points all by himself in the first half. That was hard. I mean, I don't know what Washington's defense was doing out there because he had everything he wanted. Now, big deal, because I think that Washington's offense didn't help out with the Washington's defense. They were 0-9 in the first half against the Eagles and Green Bay on 3rd down this year. That means RG3, and when the game was still close in the first half, he's 0-9. That's not acceptable. Your defense is going to give up a lot of points. Your defense is going to give up a lot of points when you're 0-9 on 3rd down. You haven't gotten 1 first down in the first half. You need to at least be sticking with these teams. That's 2 really good offenses that have lit your defense up, and you haven't done anything to keep at least stride for stride with them in the first half to make your defense, get a little gas back, get a little wind. I think it's as much as their fault as anybody's, but there's a lot going on out there.
Yeah, the Redskins need to work on some stuff. Although Robert Griffin did have a good day, with 320 yards and 3 touchdowns. But
most of it was in the second half. 0-9 on 3rd down in the first half of both games, Joe.
Yeah, that's the biggest stat there.
I think that tells the story. If you are 0-3, 1-4, 2-6, do you sit RG3 at some point and say, hey, listen, he's the future, and obviously we're not winning a Super Bowl this year. Let's get Kirk Cousins some playing time. Maybe we can either one day trade him or make him a future quarterback in case RG3 were to get hurt, this, that, and the next thing. I mean, do you at some point sit RG3 just because of health and just take it from there?
I think that would be a good idea if it's
0-3, do you do it? Say you go 0-3, do you do it?
I don't know if I do it that early. I mean,
2-5?
I guess the earlier you do it, the better. I mean, you can come back later in the season. I mean, nobody really knows if he is fully 100% or not. They say he says he is. The doctors claim that he is. But is he really? He
hasn't looked like a run threat at all, and that has left Alfred Morris completely by himself on an island. Alfred Morris is carrying their run game right now. Somehow, that's the only reason that people have them doing better than the Giants this year is because they have a run game. My hands are in the air, though. I don't know. I said RG3. I said it during the offseason. I don't play RG3 till week 5 or week 6. See how my team plays. If we have a shot at the Super Bowl, then I throw him in there. If not, he's my franchise quarterback. I don't care if I sit him the whole year. I'm paying him millions of dollars. He's going to sit the whole year. whatever. I mean, that's whatever. Hey, listen, if that's what's good for my franchise 5 years from now, then I'm going for it every single time. I don't care. You're putting that much money into a quarterback that he could get hurt week 5 of a season that you had no shot of going to the Super Bowl, and then he never come back the same. No, I'm not playing that game.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely a good thought. I mean, you got to be careful, because what if he does get hurt again this early in the season, and what if he is out for a whole nother year? Then what are you going to say?
What if he plays 13 games? What if he plays 13 games and they've won 4 of those 13 games, and he's in there in week 14 and he gets hurt, or week 15, whatever, and he gets hurt? How do you explain that to the fans, that the reason we don't have a Super Bowl 5 years from now is because we hurt our franchise quarterback that we traded everything for in a most meaningless game ever?
I don't think there's really a good way to present that.
All right, there you go. Baltimore struggled with the Browns 14-6. Very bad first half. Joe Flacco thinking about his newborn baby in my eyes. I don't know. It was just a bad first half. Their defense played well. Well, they didn't give up 7 offensive passing touchdowns, so that's a start. That's a plus. Ravens squeak out 2 touchdowns late to win. I mean, a win's a win, just like all the other wins we've been talking about, but what's the vibe you get from this? Yeah?
The Browns' defense is okay, but I mean, the Ravens' offense should be able to at least, score the touchdown in the first half against them at some points.
I agree. Do you think Joe Flacco having a baby that morning affected him?
It could have. I mean, it's possible. I mean, it should be more of a joyous thing, but I mean, I guess, since he's not there, it could be, kind of like, man, but it is his second child as well, so, it's not like, not to say that in a mean way, but, No,
I hear you. Listen, once that 15 minutes starts in the first quarter and that play clock starts, when you're the quarterback, you can't be focused on anything except the game, or else you're not going to score points. I think the Browns defense has is a good defense, but I don't think they can play with anybody for 60 minutes, and that offense doesn't score near enough points for them to even have a shot. So I was high on the Browns beginning of the year. I don't know. I'm not that high on them. I think the Ravens struggled. I think they struggled hard, and I think next week tells a lot about who they really are.
Yeah, they got a big game next week, so we'll see.
I think this was a confidence build. I know it's against Brandon Weeden, but it was a confidence-building week for their defense. After you give up 7 touchdowns, to give up no touchdowns passing, that's a big deal. They didn't give up any touchdowns at all, but that's a big stress. I mean, say you give up 1 or 2, you're like, man, it's the Browns, and you're sitting there in film, and your head's down, and you're like, we have no chance. You did what you were supposed to do against a bad team. That's at least a joyous thing for their defense. But I'm with you. Their offense has to click. They have to click. And if Ray Rice is hurt for an extended period of time, I think Bernard Pierce is good. I don't know if he's full season with them.
Then we got the Bills at home against the Panthers, and the Bills pulled out a tough one. They pulled out a close one there.
EJ Manuel is the man for that last drive. That was one of the best drives I've ever seen. It was his second ever game. He's a rookie. Congratulations to him. That 3rd down run to get the first down, 1st and goal, and then finding Stevie Johnson wide open to win the game. It's just that was awesome. My mind explodes. That was impressive. I don't think the Bills' defense is that good. I don't think the Bills are that great of a team. I don't think Carolina's that great of a team, but I thought it was a good game, and I thought that was really cool. And I think the blame goes everywhere in Carolina. It goes on the coaching staff. It goes on the defense. You have to make one stop. You have to just make sure they don't get in the end zone. You're up 6 points, and you couldn't do it. That's the second time that happened. I remember last year. It happens a lot to Cam, but I remember last year it happened against the Falcons, and it's just you had to make one stop, and you couldn't do it. But still, I think it falls on Cam, too, because in a tie game, he got them to kick a field goal up 3, and then up 3 got them to kick a field goal up 6. If you score a touchdown on either one of those, it's a 10-point game, and boom, right there. And Cam was missing throws in the first quarter. Ted Ginn's still fast. He outran everybody for that 1 touchdown, or for one of the 2 touchdowns. But I put this loss on everybody. I don't think Carolina's offense is that good, but I think if Cam wants to step up and be that elite quarterback, especially one of those quarterbacks of the futures, when you got a Kaepernick, a Luck, a Wilson, all these great guys, if you want to be in their class and up there with them, you got to score a touchdown on one of those 2 last drives. Make it a 10-point game. I'm not saying make it a 14. You make it a 10-point game, you win.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, the whole Panthers organization needs to step it up a little bit. Their defense is slacking, their offense is slacking. I mean, I'm not sure what's going on in Carolina. They need to do something, though.
Why? Well, okay. Why is Ron Rivera their head coach? He was not great in Philadelphia. He didn't, in my eyes, he didn't do enough in Philadelphia to become a head coach.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know what they're thinking in Carolina. I think they have a lot of potential with some of the pieces they have. I think they need to get some more pieces, though, because they definitely don't have enough weapons on their offense. But the Bills are looking good, though.
I think the Bills are looking good. They have a bright future. Their defense played well against a injured Patriots team. They played really well against a whole different style of quarterback with Cam Newton, who I think is really good. If you put Cam Newton with a better offense, skill set wise, does he flourish, or does he still do these where he should get 7 points and he only gets 3? Does it change things for him if you put him on a better offense, like a Kaepernick offense or a Russell Wilson offense even?
I mean, I think it does change things a little bit. I mean, to have a better offensive line, to have more of a run game that you can go to if you need it. I mean, Cam's one of their biggest run game threats, and that you can only use that for so long before they know what you're going to do. So I think, with a better team around him, I think he could do a lot better. I mean, I think there could still be those question marks where he could, have those times where he doesn't get the touchdown when he should in those cases and things, but I think he does better overall with a better skill set team.
Can Cam win in Carolina, and can he win with this coaching staff? Let me answer. The reason I asked about the coaching staff is I say yes, he can win in Carolina, and I say no because of the coaching staff.
I agree with that statement. I think some different coaches with some different ideas could probably do a little better.
They got to fix a lot though. I mean, they got a good start with that defense, but they got to get better all around. The next game was Minnesota going to Chicago, 1 point game. Chicago wins 31-30. We both picked Chicago. I said it last week. Jay Cutler, Brandon Marshall, my favorite quarterback wide receiver tandem. Late, last minute, another drive for a touchdown. I thought that was really cool. I thought they played really well. I'm impressed with Minnesota. I think their defense played better than I thought. You were right about AP. He did a lot. I mean, you said about him carrying them. I think he did a lot. He did enough for them to win. They got Rudolph involved more. It falls on Ponder as much as anybody, but I think Cutler has shown in 2 games he's the man. Same with Brandon Marshall, and I think this offense is ready to win. They're ready to win now.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Bears came out. They looked pretty good. I mean, the Vikings did step up. I thought they had a chance to win this game. I thought it was going to be a good one. I thought the Bears were going to win overall because I think they were the better team overall.
Yeah.
Better quarterback, slightly better wide receiving core. So it doesn't, I like them. I like both teams a lot. I did think the Bears, were coming out. They look on fire so far these first 2 weeks in the season. Can they keep it going though? That's the biggest thing. They got to keep it going the whole year to be able to keep up with the pace that they're setting.
The Bears were a 10-win team last year. The Vikings were a 10-win team last year. The Cincinnati Bengals were a 10-win team last year. The Bears played the Vikings and the Bengals for their first 2 weeks. I mean, that's hard to do. They came out with last-minute wins. I think all 3 of those teams are on par for what they did last year, and I think it's really cool to see because that's parity right there. I mean, the Vikings in Minnesota or the Vikings in Chicago, they're in the same division, so that's really cool to see that they came down to the wire like that. I mean, I was impressed with the Vikings because I didn't have them as good as last year, but that defense played well enough through, I think, a quarter and a half to keep their offense in line. Their offense anytime, and I know special teams had a touchdown, but anytime you got 30 points on the board, you're doing something right. I was saying Ponder needs to play better, but hey, I mean, there's a 3-0 on the board. You did good. You can't knock them. Yeah. The next game was New Orleans going to Tampa Bay. New Orleans, whole different team on the road. We both picked New Orleans. They won 16-14. It looked sloppy though. It looked really sloppy, and I know it was wet, and I know there was lightning, and I know all that. It looked sloppy. The Bucs are not. The Bucs are a wreck right now, and you should be able to run right through them. And the Saints did not. That's cause for concern, at least late in the season for me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't know what the Bucs are doing right now. They got all kinds of crazy stuff going on there.
Rumors everywhere
anymore. All these team player meetings. What?
Did they have one? Did they not?
It doesn't make any sense. You broke records last year. You did really well. I don't know what you're doing this year because you're not doing that.
Greg Schiano said, or they have been saying that Greg Schiano doesn't back Freeman, but I'm with you. They broke records on offense last year. You should back your quarterback who broke records. Worst case scenario is you draft a quarterback you do let him sit and watch this other quarterback who has broken records. play a season or two, and then you throw the guy you want in there. Like, why are you causing drama right now? This is year 2. You have a good defense on top of a better defense on top of what your good offense was last year. Like, let it play out. It's only week 2. Why is there drama going on? Like, as a head coach, you cannot have that. You cannot do that.
Yeah, I mean, Greg Schiano's done some of these questionable things, and it's like, what are you thinking, man? Like,
New Orleans on the road. I mean, was that a fluke? Is that what we're going to see all year?
They never really play that well on the road, though. I mean, they always have issues, and especially in the wet weather with the rain. It makes it harder to throw the ball. Their run game isn't that great. Most of their game does come through the air, so I'm sure the rain did have an effect on that a little bit. But they did win. They pulled out the win. That's what really matters going into a hostile environment, especially with the bad weather.
Any win on the road in the NFL is a good win. Speaking of Arizona winning at home against Detroit, 25-21. Larry Fitzgerald gets hurt in the third. We talked about this last week when we were previewing week 2. Detroit, they were a 4-win team last year. Detroit did not. These were the games they lost. I mean, they should have won these kind of games last year. These are the games they lost to get them to be a 4-12 team. Where do you start? Was this a Arizona's better and Arizona played well, or was this a Detroit? This is on you.
More like a Detroit. It's on you. I mean, not to take away from the Arizona Cardinals, because they did play really well. Carson Palmer played really well. That defense did step up, and their defense is pretty good. But like we said before, we picture them as kind of like a 4 or 5 win team, better than they were last year, but still not that great. I think this is more on the Lions, because you got to be able to put up more than 21 points with that offense. With Megatron, Megatron had a really big day, and they didn't score a whole lot of points. So I don't know what's going on there, but they definitely need to score more because they have talent.
I said this to you. This is a little off topic from the game. We got to get back to it because I do want to talk about the Honey Badger and all of Arizona. But I said to you, quickly answer. Megatron last year was the highest target player on their team. He broke records when they were going through him. They only won 4 games. This year, week 1, he didn't get all that many looks. He didn't have that many yards. Week 2, he has an outstanding game, over 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. But they lose. Is that a correlation? When he's doing well, they lose, but when he's kind of in the background, they win. Is that Matthew Stafford opening it up and they become a really good, not as predictable team? But when he's still putting up these numbers when they're just throwing it blindly to him. So I mean, is it a correlation?
I think it's kind of ironic. I don't know if it's a correlation. It definitely is strange how that kind of works out, where, he gets, done a ton of yards, touchdowns, and they don't win, maybe because Stafford isn't opening it up as much as he should be. Maybe he isn't utilizing all his weapons when he should be. Maybe he's looking for Calvin Johnson a little more, even when he might be in a little more coverage instead of going to some of the other guys. So it could, might have a little factor on there, but you can't not throw Megatron the ball.
If Reggie Bush is healthy, I think it doesn't matter how many times you throw Megatron the ball. You have to at least respect Reggie Bush then, no matter what, when Matthew Stafford's got him in the flat. So I'm going to say that even if they over-target Megatron this year, they still win more games than they did last year, just on the simple fact is you can't just strictly pay attention to him anymore.
Yeah, I agree. Good win by the Cardinals, though. The Honey Badger coming up with a big play.
Absolutely. Huge play on 4th and 1, the Honey Badger. Hey, listen, that was impressive. I mean, he's done nothing. It's 2 weeks into his career. He's done nothing but make plays in those 2 weeks, just like he did at LSU. He's one of those players that you just can't, there's no definition, there's no explanation. That was impressive. That 4th and 1 was so impressive. I got out of my seat. I'm a huge fan of the Honey Badger. I like what he's doing. I thought that was cool. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I thought he was looking good. I mean, he's definitely coming out and making a name for himself, showing he can do it.
Absolutely. And Patrick Peterson, obviously he played well too. I think their defense is actually pretty decent, pretty solid. Carson Palmer, I'm impressed. His 4th quarter without Larry Fitzgerald, who got hurt in the third. Well, he re-injured his original injury in the third, and I'm not playing the middle of the third till the end of the game. I thought that was really impressive by Carson Palmer.
Yeah, that definitely was. Carson Palmer played really well,
still good
without Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah, Yeah, come out and get the come from behind win. I think that's a big deal. It's good for your confidence, at least. Was the Raiders over Jacksonville? I have them in my suicide league, so can't pick them again this year. But hey, I'll take the win. 19-9. It looked fairly. It looked honestly like it was like a 30-9 win. Like 19-9. I remember like seeing parts of this game. It looked like Terrell Pryor was running around. It looked like they were passing the ball. They just didn't score a lot of points. But I mean, 19-9 is a beating for Oakland, I guess. It was sold out, by the way, which I thought was pretty cool.
That's crazy.
It was in Oakland.
Yeah, as it should be.
Yeah, good for them, though.
I knew they were going to win. I mean, come on, it's the Jaguars.
Yeah, but still, I think that's pretty cool. Hey, the black hole, that's a little scary. The Jaguars, though, man, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on with that. Maurice Jones-Drew, not that good.
No, he's been lucky. I don't even think he's been on the scoreboard like at all.
No, it's been bad. They scored what, one touchdown then? One touchdown?
No, they got. Did they get a safety?
11 points.
It should be 11
Oh,
points.
you're
They got
right.
a safety and 3 field
Oh
goals.
no, they haven't even scored a touchdown. I don't pay attention to the Jaguars. I got better things to do, man.
Oh no, Chad Henne did have. They must have got another safety because Chad Henne had a touchdown.
Oh, okay. Either way, you score 11 points. 2 of them are defense, so you scored 9 points. You scored 1. No, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, they got 2 safeties. Chad Henne scored a touchdown with the extra point. That's 7 plus 4 is 11.
Oh wow! So they haven't kicked 1 field goal. Wow! Oh, holy crap! Okay, I got you. I'm on the same page. That's crazy. I don't even know what to say about that. That's the Jaguars. I mean, that's all you can say about it. They have 1 touchdown. They have 11 points in 2 games. I don't know. Moving on. Listen, I don't think Oakland's better or worse because of it. Let's just say that. Denver goes across country. Big brother goes and pounds little brother.
Yeah, he does.
41. Yeah, 41-23. I mean, Peyton looked good. The Giants' offense looked bad again. Turnover machine. They got to fix that. They're 0-2. It's not like they don't have a shot because Coughlin's better late. They're really good in December. But do you think cause for concern? I mean, or do you think it's just schedule kind of falls out pretty bad for them now since they lost week 1? Week 2 just kind of became an absolute better, no matter what.
Peyton did after week 1, how do you stop 7 touchdowns? You know, you go.
Yeah, he's not going to.
How do you stop 7?
He's not going to come out and not score 2 or 3 touchdowns in the next game and look good. I mean, it's just not. It's not going to happen. So you got to find some kind of offense of your own to kind of portray it. It didn't really work out for the Giants. I mean, Coughlin gets better as time moves on, but I don't know. I really like Denver. Is Denver the best team in the AFC?
I think so. Right now, they definitely are.
It's hard to say not, right? I mean, they've really just they've pounded the 2 teams they played. One of them being the defending champs. They're impressive. They're like the heavyweight fighter right now that is kind of just overstepping the rest of their conference.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It is week 2, though. It is week 2. I'm not gonna jump on it.
They're definitely the front runners.
The one game this week, for the first time ever, was only one game, but one game this week, Joe and I go head-to-head. He takes the Niners, I take the Seahawks. I didn't jump on the Niners. I do think they are the best team, and I think they have the best offense, but I wasn't overreaction to week 1, and I still thought the Seahawks had that defense in that crowd noise. That was an awesome game. Win or lose, that was an awesome game. I'm glad that I picked right. I'm a big Russell Wilson fan. I've always been a big Russell Wilson fan. He wasn't over the top great, but he put up 180 some yards. They won. I mean, that's all that matters.
Right. That is all that matters. I mean, the crowd noise definitely had a huge advantage in there. I mean, they even had like an hour delay because of the lightning and everything, and they were still all right there making a lot of noise. So that was pretty impressive. Yeah. I gained a lot of respect for the Seattle fans, especially after that 1 hour long rain delay. So I mean, it was definitely an impressive win for the Seahawks. I was a little disappointed with the 49ers. How do you score 3 points? You're definitely one of the best offenses in the NFL. I know it's a tough place to play. I know it's a really good defense in Seattle, but I expect a little more from you when you have Super Bowl ambitions.
I picked the Niners to win the NFC West. I picked them to win the NFC in general, but it's only because I had them getting home field advantage in the NFC. If Seattle can find a way to win enough road games and get home field advantage, I don't think anyone's beating them in that stadium. Not with that crowd noise, not in a playoff environment. not with that defense. I mean, and I think the Niners are the best team, and I think they have the best offense, but listen, if you're talking Seattle, I'm taking them 10 out of 10 times.
Yeah, I feel you.
Did Richard Sherman, who was talking to Revis on Twitter this offseason, did Richard Sherman prove himself? Because he said, I'm the best, and Revis said, no, I'm still the best. You can't take that from me yet. Who do you think's better? I mean, do you think Richard Sherman proved himself this weekend to be the best cornerback in the league?
I mean, he's definitely proven himself to be, lockdown corner. I mean, Darrelle Revis is having a really good season as well, too. I'd still probably go with Darrelle Revis just by the slimmest of margins. Well, I don't like hearing Sherman now.
He talks too much for me. I agree, and I like the Ocho Cincos. I like the TOs. Like I like the guys who talk, but he talks too much. Calling Revis out on Twitter this year was a bad move. Doing what he did to Skip on national TV was a bad move. Calling Brady out is a ridiculous move when you're Richard Sherman. Who are you at that time? I take Sherman as the best. I take Sherman as the best in the league, but I put a muzzle on him. If he's on my team, I'm doing whatever I can to put a muzzle on him. Pete Carroll's that kind of guy, though. He's open, he's free. He coached USC. USC was that loud, take money, throw money. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that's because a lot of colleges do it. I'm not. But I'm just saying, like, right. But I'm saying. Pete Carroll's one of those guys. He's going to let you talk. He's going to let you talk. I didn't like Sherman going up to Harbaugh after the game, patting him on the back, saying good game and all that, but I didn't like his after saying that Harbaugh didn't say anything back to him. He clearly said something back to him. You just couldn't hear it. He didn't see it. He was running away already. There's too much stupid drama on the side with Sherman, but I think he's a better cornerback. I think he proved it this weekend. I think Revis isn't going to get enough big games to prove it or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's going to be more Sherman's to win or lose on him. I still have the 49ers winning the NFC West. I still have them winning next time they play in San Francisco. But I'll take Seattle at home whenever they play.
Yeah, you're right.
Next game, Pittsburgh. It was a Monday night game. Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. We both picked Cincinnati. It wasn't much of a shock to either of us that Cincinnati won. Cincinnati's offense didn't put up as many points as I thought. Are you Steelers 0-2? I mean, are you how do you feel about it? Is this as big news as everyone else is thinking?
I mean, everyone's blown up about the Steelers. I mean, I know it's the first time Tomlin's been 0-2. So, the Steelers, not used to this, but I don't think it's
first time in 11 years they were 0-2. Last time they were 0-2 was 11 years ago. Keep going.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. I mean, that's why everyone's panicking, but I mean, they definitely had their downsides before that. Let's not forget about all that other stuff that's happened. Cordell
Stewart. Let's not act like the Steelers never had a bad era. We talked about this in our pre-meeting. Don't act like the Steelers have never had a bad era in their time. Remember the late 90s, early 2000s. Cordell Stewart was their quarterback. I don't remember them ever winning more than 11 games at that time. There's a dark era in Steelers history. This is what the Steelers do. Once every 5 or 6 years, they have a really bad year, and once every 5 or 6 years, they have a Super Bowl year. So you can't freak out. I mean, they're going to rebuild one more time with Ben Roethlisberger. You got to get a different offensive coordinator. I don't think Cincinnati showed enough offensively for me to be like, man, they're an elite team, but I still haven't won in the North because I just don't think the rest of the North is that good. But I think the Steelers don't have great wide receivers. They don't have much of an offensive line right now because of injuries. They don't have much of a defensive linebacking core because of injuries. Other than Big Ben, they don't have a lot going for them.
Yeah, I agree. They definitely need to work on something a little bit. I mean, they do have a lot of injuries that are kind of, plaguing them. So, it's unfortunately, sometimes it does happen. They'll be back. They always come back, and they're always better than they were before. So I wouldn't panic too much, but, I wouldn't be surprised if this year becomes more of a wash.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're going to talk about what we talked about for our points going into the weekend. We're going to see what, how we did.
All right, so my first point, I had Andy Reid going up against the Cowboys. Obviously, he did come out with the victory. Andy Reid knows the Cowboys just as well as, the Cowboys know the Cowboys pretty much. He's played against them in Philadelphia for 14 years, You don't just forget all that by going to a new team for 2 weeks. So, he pulled out that win like I said I thought he would. My second point was the Redskins offense, which they were terrible, hence they lost the game they got a whooping from Green Bay. So RG3 just didn't look that great at all. He looks like he still wasn't really stepping into his throws. He's not been the running threat that he should be. Maybe he's not ready to come back. And then my last point was Adrian Peterson, who also had a pretty big game. He put the Vikings in a position to win that game. He had 100 yards rushing. They did just come up just short, but it was against a very good Bears team. But those were my 3 points.
Joe, I'm impressed. I got to give it to you. I think 2 of those 3 points were actually swing parts of those games. They were the biggest keys of those games, and that really decided the game. That was a good job. You impressed me on that one. My 3 points was Kaepernick versus Seattle's defense. Seattle's defense came up a lot bigger than what people thought. Kaepernick didn't come up as big as a lot of people thought, me included, because I thought they'd at least score a few points. So I was impressed by Seattle's defense. I thought that was the key to that game. It worked out. I looked all right there. The Eagles' offense, they had a big impact on the game, but they weren't the story of that game. That Eagles' defense was really bad. But I was excited to see where that offense went from week 1, and I really thought they went in. I didn't think they went in reverse, but I didn't think they made big strides, if you know what I'm saying. So I think they're pretty much where they were last week, which I think was the least likely of the 3 situations you could think of. I really thought they were going to either go backwards or forward. I don't think they went anywhere, which isn't a bad thing because they were scoring a lot of points in both weeks. And my 3rd point was just good teams, bad starts. I wanted to see about, Baltimore. I wanted to see about Houston coming off that slow start. Turns out the Chargers might not be as bad as we thought. I wanted to see what New England did, down the line. Atlanta, who lost a game, and you can go through all those teams, but I was excited to see how it turned out. I think it sets up a lot of good matchups for week 3, and it puts a lot of question marks into teams who have a lot to learn about themselves.
You follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that at Hood's Huddle. Check our Twitters out. Follow us. Let us know what you think. Everything like that. Subscribe to the YouTube channel.
It was good and bad feedback. Let us know what's going on. If you like it or not.
Let us know what you think. Make sure you check out the Week 3 preview that is coming up after this one. So don't forget to check that out. Let us know what you think about that as well.